cryptocurrency here today, so let me read a little bit about Nabeel. Nabeel Malik is a Washington, D.C. based investor and enthusiast of cryptocurrency, and you'll hear his enthusiasm and you'll hear my skepticism a lot today, because I think it's all mumbo jumbo somewhat. Okay. Anyway, and he's a certified blockchain instructor and CEO of Cryptolytics, which is dedicated to facilitating analysis and discussions of current crypto events. So before we even get started, let me ask you all a question. How many of you currently own a digital currency? Like have invested in or own?
Yeah, a few hands.
And see, you're excited that there's a few people here today. Wow.
I agree.
Yay, see, it's sweeping the world. 3 of you already. Oh, okay. Now, so yes, there's a lot of hype.
Yeah.
But let's take a step back. So there's this whole blockchain cryptocurrency thing, and people sort of equate the two, but in reality, they're very different but related. So why don't you give us an overview, what is blockchain, and then separately, what is cryptocurrency?
Sure. You kind of remind me like my mother when I told her 3 years ago I quit my secure government job and retirement plan to launch a company on cryptocurrency. And she was blown away.
Yeah, your mom is.
So Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer sharing currency that doesn't involve a government or a bank to hold your money in the middle. It will go from your digital wallet to the person's digital wallet directly without anybody else controlling it. Some of the advantages. You and your buddies go out to dinner, the dinner's $1,000, one person pays for it because you don't want to split it 18 ways. The next day, one person's in Africa, one's in Dubai, one's in Australia. You guys can send each other Bitcoin at 4 a.m. while all the banks are closed and the government's closed, and he can have his or her money immediately. And then I'll go over what blockchain technology is. Blockchain technology is the technology that Bitcoin sits on. For example, when the internet came out, guys, first couple of years, what was the internet used for? Anybody know? The first 3 years, people used the internet for one reason and one reason only. Anyone take a guess?
They had to.
Email. So first 3 years of internet's existence, it was only used for email.
And thank you for not mentioning porn. My mom was here, so we're talking about the porn part of the internet, but go ahead.
It wasn't developed yet.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it wasn't developed yet. So email was the first successful test case. So for blockchain technology, Bitcoin was the first successful test case, but the technology itself has limitless possibilities just the way the internet now does. You can book a car, you can rent a hotel, you can go on a date. Blockchain technology, all it is an open accounting ledger that puts everything down where everybody can see it. Everything links to each other based on the requirements defined by the developers, and it's secure. It cannot be changed. You can't go in the past and change something, and you can't add anything new that doesn't meet the requirements. For example, regular accounting ledgers or databases, you can go in the past and make a change. You can add a miscellaneous BS column to tag along $10,000. You can't do that in blockchain. It prevents that.
And how does it prevent that?
It prevents it by, it won't accept it. If it doesn't meet the requirements set by the development team and the founders of that blockchain, it won't accept the next link. For example, supply chain is huge in blockchain technology. IBM did a test case study with Mersic, an international shipper by boat. They cut their inventory time down by 90% by putting their inventory on a blockchain. This way, they knew where each product was, they categorized it, they barcoded it, and they put limits to who can add and subtract to it. And that saved them 90%. Another good example, Walmart just did for its supply chain for mangoes. So it used to take Walmart 16 days, 26 hours, and 36 minutes to find out where one mango came from. They got together with IBM, put their mango supply chain and origin on a blockchain, and once they were done, it took them 3 seconds to find out where one particular mango came from. And that's how every industry in one way or another is being impacted by blockchain technology and cryptocurrency.
So is it fair to summarize that blockchain is like a decentralized account or ledger or database?
Absolutely.
And that is the underlying technology that's used to make
Absolutely.
cryptocurrency possible.
Absolutely.
Okay. So then, well, by the way, also this is supposed to be an interactive session. So while I've got thousands of questions to ask, if anybody has a question, don't hesitate to jump up and down, scream something, because we want to make this, answering every question that you guys have. And again, while I am very skeptical about cryptocurrency in many ways, I also am thrilled to be here today to learn more because I don't know what I don't know. And Jesse this morning told me, geez, my limitations of what I see in the future is so limited. I need to open my horizons. And I think part of all of the reason we're all here is really thinking about the things that we may be skeptical about and want to learn more about. So thank you for being here with that. So in cryptocurrency, give us a couple other examples of how are industries using cryptocurrency. As people in this room are sitting here, where are the ways industry is benefiting from cryptocurrency versus just, people who use Venmo or PayPal or Visa or MasterCard? Help me understand that.
Absolutely. So if you look at the history of money, guys, fiat, right? So in 1976, we got off the gold standard. So there is no checks and balances to how much fiat is being printed because it's not backed by anything. Deflation hits the US dollar by 3% every year. My mom used to go shopping for a family of 5 people for $30 in the 80s. Nobody can go shopping for $30 for 5. The value keeps decreasing because we free willy keep printing the US dollar. Digital currency, ever since it was born in 2008 when Bitcoin was launched, has only rose in value. And in the future, it will only rise in value. The first biggest corporation to accept digital currency or Bitcoin was Dell Corporation in 2013. The validity of any good or value or commodity, may it be gold, fiat, digital currency, or silver, all depends on who's willing to trade for it. If nobody's willing to trade their goods for that currency, it doesn't hold any value. So year by year, more vendors and companies are accepting Bitcoin. Dell accepts it, Tesla accepts it, Microsoft accepts it, Apple accepts it. I believe Starbucks is signing up. Amazon is looking into it. They might just launch their own currency to be part of an internal Amazon ecosystem because that's where they'll get the most amount of benefit from.
So I got 3 or 4 follow-up questions to that, but one of which is, and again, I'm going to keep you honest here.
Yeah.
So you said that the Bitcoin's only gone up in value.
Absolutely.
And I did some research, and a year ago about Bitcoin was $5,000. Then in January it was $15,000 to $20,000. So it went up triple. Wow,
Absolutely.
Awesome. And then in February it went to half that price. So that's not only increasing in value, that's increasing and then decreasing.
Steady increasing, right? Let's not look at short term. Let's look at everything long term. So if you take a 365-day backwards, Bitcoin has always been up. So it did shoot up last November, went all the way up to 19,000 on December 28th. But that was a lot of pump done by people because your cousin made $10,000 last night, your best friend made it, everybody poured their money in. Coinbase is the largest exchange in the country right now. They had a revenue of over $20 billion last year in those 3 months alone. That was just hyped up, but 365 days every time. So if today you went back 365 days, Bitcoin is still up.
But come next month, November,
We'll find out.
days back,
We'll find out.
You think it'll go up 3 times the next 30 days?
It may.
Well, so some of the skeptics say that the definition of a currency has to be a somewhat stable store of value. And that if a currency isn't a stable store of value, people can't be comfortable holding it because it's going to double or triple or go in half. So how does that work?
Until it becomes mainstream, right? So let's talk about mainstream adoption. Mainstream adoption, guys, is defined by 50 million users. There's 300 million people living in America right now. The cell phone everybody holds in their pocket took 14 years for mainstream adoption. Bitcoin and digital currency have only been around for 9 years. So once we get to a rate where 50 million people are using digital currency, then you'll see the volatility become a lot more steady. But until that happens, you'll see it up and down.
Well, then I guess, so a little bit related topic, I guess,
But
is...
let me tell you about the business, right?
Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
tell you about how vendors like Dell and Starbucks and Tesla and Microsoft that take Bitcoin stay away from the volatility. When they receive, for example, Microsoft takes Bitcoin directly on their site. You can order a TV, computer, Windows, whatever you want. They'll get it and they'll immediately transfer it into US fiat and deposit it into their business accounts. So they don't stick around in Bitcoin for volatility. They'll take it just like a check you do at a business. You got the check, you deposit it into your bank account. They'll transfer it immediately into their account so they don't have to worry about the volatility of it.
But then why do I care about that versus just taking a credit card, or bank transfer?
Because you have complete control of your money. What happened in 2008? All the banks, okay, so banks went to the federal government and said, we don't have any money, right? If you ever went bankrupt, or if I ever went bankrupt, can we go to the Federal Reserve and say, hey guys, help me out, I don't have any money, I spent too much money giving bonuses to my executives? No, we can't. In 2008, the entire banking infrastructure fell apart because of overspending from the banks. This takes the power away of your and my money from central banks and gives it back to the people because nobody's controlling your money except you.
But where I'm following, where that loses me is, why is the government standing behind something a bad thing? Why is regulation bad? People talk about cryptocurrency is awesome because it's unregulated and there's no government behind it. Well, okay, but why is that bad?
No, regulation's amazing, right? We work with, we lobby at the Congress all the time through the Government Blockchain Association, and we work with a bunch of congressmen. We want it to be regulated. We just don't want you to own it, right? For example, the Federal Reserve is not owned by the government. It was a private 8 to 10 bankers that got together in the 50s and said, we're gonna control the money of this country, right? There were private bankers that got involved. We want it to be taxed. We want it to be regulated. We just don't want you guys to give the control of that currency to a select few people that are at the right place at the right time.
So using your example, in '08 when the banking system had a meltdown, the government did step in and supported it and made it work so we all could continue to do commerce. But in the case of blockchain, last November, this first quarter this year, when it went down by 1/3 in value or lost 2/3 of value, no one stepped in and said, you know what? People are now losing their homes, let me help make that work.
But the government never helped people losing their homes, right? The government saved JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley. They didn't save that normal guy that couldn't afford his mortgage statement from his house getting foreclosed, right? That wasn't saved, right? So they helped the institutions.
They saved the currency.
They saved the institutions. They never saved the individual. Same thing like Apple stock. Apple stock or Amazon's above $1,000 right now. If tomorrow it gets into slashes in 500, is the government going to do anything to people that lost half their net worth? They won't.
Of course, but I would say part of that is because people who are investing in those companies know they're speculating about the future. With cryptocurrency, I think maybe the majority of owners today know they're speculating, but because it's not based on any support, as businesses, why is that good for us? That's the part I'm missing.
It adds value to your business. It adds value to the way you operate. If you can generate another way to earn another stream of revenue by implementing Bitcoin, why wouldn't you do it? And you can transfer it to fiat immediately. There's a lot of companies out there right now that made a lot of money in the past 8 years in Bitcoin and digital currency that prefer to only use Bitcoin in business transactions. If you add that part of your services and implement that technology within your company, you can gain another stream of revenue, right? You're capturing another market that you wouldn't capture if you didn't accept digital currency. Same reason why Microsoft accepts Bitcoin right now. They stopped it last year for 3 days and they lost enough revenue that the 4th day they opened it back up just to generate additional revenue, beat out your competitors. And there's a lot of people with a lot of money in digital currency. It's currently a $350 billion market that did not exist 8 years ago. So within an 8-year span, $350 billion was created through technology that people own right now. right? It was one of the biggest shifts in wealth in recent history.
And I'm with you in terms of it being a payment mechanism.
Yeah.
And I guess whether Microsoft or whoever uses it that way. But in my mind, so why is that different for all of us in the room than those who want to take PayPal or Venmo or any other way, or like Visa or MasterCard? Isn't it just really one more way to convert an order to dollars?
It is one more way, but it's a much more efficient way. Anybody, how many people have a PayPal account for their business here? Has PayPal ever held your money?
No, I've seen
Have they? They're notorious for doing that, right? I've heard horror stories with PayPal certain times holding big chunks of money. In Bitcoin or digital currency,